the Maya astronomer who calculated eternity. Kinich, the astronomer who calculated eternity while Europe forgot how. 810 CE. A Maya astronomer stands atop a temple in Copan, tracking Venus with precision that won't be matched in Europe for another 700 years. He's calculated Venus's cycle at 583.92 days. The actual figure, measured with modern instruments, 583.92 days. Exact. His solar year measurement, 365.2420 days. He's off by 17 seconds annually. Europe's calendar at this time is drifting 11 minutes per year, so broken it'll need complete reformation in 1582. While Charlemagne's empire crumbles and European monks copy the same Latin texts over and over, Maya astronomers are measuring eternity itself. But here's the tragedy. In 752 years, a Spanish bishop will burn it all. Thousands of books containing this knowledge reduced to ash in an afternoon. This is the story of what the Maya were doing during Europe's Middle Ages. And it ends with the greatest act of intellectual destruction in human history. While one civilization struggled to preserve knowledge, another was exploding with it until everything burned. Copan, Honduras, 810 CE, 3 hours before dawn. An astronomer, let's call him Kinich, sun-faced one, has been tracking Venus for 146 consecutive days. This is his life's work. Not one observation, but thousands, spanning decades. He's not doing this alone. His teacher did this. His teacher's teacher did this. Dead men whose calculations he can still read, carved in stone, written in codices, 400 years of continuous observations. Tonight, he's adding his data to that chain. His assistant approaches. The king wants to know when Venus appears as morning star. He's planning the campaign against Quirigua. Kinich doesn't look up from his calculations. Venus rises as morning star in 23 days. Tell him to wait. The warrior god must be in the right position. And if the king doesn't want to wait, then he fights without the favor of the gods. His choice. But here's the thing. Kinich doesn't really believe Venus is a warrior god. Not entirely. He believes in patterns, in mathematics, in something bigger than gods and kings. He believes the universe operates by rules that can be understood. Here's what Kinich has that European astronomers don't. 0. Not just as a placeholder, as an actual number. A mathematical concept representing nothing, absence, completion. The Maya invented it independently around 350 CE. Europe won't have it for another 400 years. They'll borrow it from Islamic scholars who borrowed it from India. But Kinich's 0 is different. It's not a dot or a circle. It's a shell glyph, beautiful, elegant, powerful. With 0 and a base 20 counting system, he can calculate cycles of 144,000 days. That's 394 years. And he tracks multiple cycles simultaneously. Venus, Moon, Sun, Mars, all moving in patterns that intersect and align. Try doing that with Roman numerals. You can't. But wait, here's what this precision means practically. Kinich needs to predict when Venus returns to the exact same position relative to Earth and Sun. This matters for agriculture, warfare, royal legitimacy, religious ceremonies. Get it wrong, and the king plants crops at the wrong time, launches military campaigns under bad omens, loses legitimacy. Get it right, and you're the most powerful person in the city who isn't wearing a crown. Kinich's calculations are staggering. Venus's synodic period, 583.92 days. Modern measurement, 583.92 days, exact. Solar year, 365.2420 days. Actual solar year, 365.2422 days, off by 17 seconds annually. Look, this isn't luck. This is decades of continuous observation, mathematical sophistication, a civilization that embedded astronomy into its architecture, its agriculture, its entire worldview. The temple where Kahinich works isn't just a building, it's an instrument. Windows aligned to track specific celestial events. When Venus appears in a certain window, he knows exactly what day it is in the long count calendar. A system tracking over 5,000 years of time. The hieroglyphic stairway at Copan has 2,200 glyphs recording 400 years of royal history. Kahinich walks past it every day. He can read every glyph. He knows the names of kings dead 300 years before he was born. Here's the comparison. In 810 CE, Charlemagne has just died. His empire is fracturing. Literacy in Europe is maybe 1 to 2% of the population, roughly the same as the Maya, actually. But European monks are copying texts. Kahinich is creating knowledge. There's a difference. Kahinich is getting older. It's 830 CE now. He's been tracking Venus for 20 years. Time to pass it on. He's training a young scribe, 5 years of education to learn the glyphs, the mathematics, the astronomical cycles. And together, they're creating a codex, a bark paper book bound in jaguar skin. Inside, Venus tables covering 300 years, past observations from his predecessors, his own decades of work, and predictions for the next 200 years. This isn't just data. This is a conversation across time. The young scribe watches Kahinich work. Teacher, what if we're wrong? What if our calculations don't hold? Kahinich pauses. Then our successors will correct us. That's how knowledge works. We observe, we record. We let future generations verify or disprove. The pattern is real. The mathematics don't lie. And the gods gave us eyes to see and minds to calculate. Using them honors the gods more than blind worship. The scribe is quiet. This borders on heresy. But Kahinich has earned the right to say such things. His calculations work. His predictions come true. That's the ultimate authority. Here's the question Kahinich never asks out loud but thinks about constantly. Why do we do this? Not the practical reasons. Kings need predictions, priests need calendars, farmers need planting schedules. But why spend your entire life tracking one planet? Why measure time in cycles of 5,125 years when you'll be dead in 60? Look, it's not about immediate utility. It's about understanding, about seeing the pattern in the chaos, about being part of something larger than yourself. Kahinich is having a conversation with men who died centuries ago and men who won't be born for centuries to come. He's building a chain of knowledge that transcends individual lives. That's not just Maya, that's human. Every civilization that's ever looked up at the stars has felt this pull, the desire to understand, to measure, to find order in the universe. The Codex is nearly complete. Venus tables that will remain accurate for centuries, mathematical calculations that future astronomers will verify and extend. Kahinich knows this book will outlive him. He's seen codices from 200 years ago, still readable, still accurate, still in use. He's building something permanent, or so he thinks. What Kahinich can't know, what no Maya astronomer in 830 CE can possibly know, is that in 732 years, every book he's ever touched will burn, not from accident, not from decay, from deliberate destruction. July 1562. Mani, Yucatan. A Spanish bishop named Diego de Landa stands before a pile of books, thousands of them, bark paper bound in jaguar skin, filled with glyphs he can't read. He calls them the devil's work. Inside those books, 800 years of astronomical observations, mathematical tables, calendars, medical texts, historical chronicles, poetry, philosophy. Dresden Codex is in that pile, the work of his entire life. The conversation across time he believed would never end. De Landa orders them burned. Here's what Diego de Landa wrote later, justifying what he did. We found a large number of books in these characters, and as they contain nothing in which were not to be seen as superstition and lies of the devil, we burn them all. Then he adds, almost as an afterthought, which they regretted to an amazing degree and which caused them much affliction. He knew what he was doing. He watched the Maya weep, and he burned the books anyway. Only 4 Maya codices survive today, 4 books out of thousands. The Dresden Codex, the most complete, contains Venus tables, Dresden's intellectual descendants' work, pages of astronomical observations matching exactly what modern instruments would later confirm. But we'll never know what else was lost. Medical texts? The Maya practiced sophisticated surgery, dental work, trepanation, setting broken bones. Where are those treatises? Historical chronicles? We have fragments on stone monuments, but the detailed histories were in the codices. Mathematical works, philosophical debates, poetry, gone. Imagine if only 4 medieval European manuscripts survived. 4 books to represent all of European thought from 500 to 1500 CE. 1 Bible, 1 astronomy text, 1 medical manual, 1 book of poetry. Everything else, Aquinas, Dante, Abelard, Hildegard of Bingen, every chronicle, every philosophical debate, every mathematical treatise, burned. That's what happened to the Maya. Dresden spent his life building something permanent, calculating eternity, recording patterns that would hold true for thousands of years, and 732 years later, it burned in an afternoon because one man decided it was evil. But here's what Diego de Landa didn't understand. Couldn't understand because he'd never bothered to learn. Those devil symbols? They were one of only 5 independently developed writing systems in human history. Logosyllabic, combining logograms and syllabic signs. Roughly 800 unique glyphs. The Maya wrote on everything: stone monuments, pottery, jewelry, building walls, and thousands of bark paper codices. They recorded history, astronomy, mathematics, royal propaganda, religious texts, poetry, even jokes. Some glyphs scholars have translated contain wordplay and humor. This wasn't primitive. This was sophisticated. The Dresden Codex tracks Venus across 584-day cycles, predicting its position centuries into the future. The calculations are complex enough that modern scholars need computers to verify them. They're correct. All of it. Correct. And de Landa burned it because he was too ignorant to recognize genius when he saw it. Here's the impossible question. What do we believe in when our beliefs cause destruction? Diego de Landa believed, genuinely, deeply believed, that he was saving souls, that Maya books were dangerous, that burning them protected people from evil. His faith told him this was righteous, but his faith was wrong, catastrophically, irreversibly wrong. The Maya believed Venus was a warrior god, yes, but they also believed in observation, in mathematics, in verifiable predictions. Their religion and their science coexisted. Dresden could pray to Venus and calculate its orbit. Both were true to him. De Landa couldn't conceive of this. To him, any knowledge outside Christian doctrine was demonic. So he destroyed 800 years of human achievement because his worldview was too narrow to contain it. But wait, Dresden's work wasn't entirely destroyed, because he didn't just write in codices. He carved observations into stone, into temple walls, into monuments designed to last forever. The hieroglyphic stairway at Copan still stands. 2,200 glyphs recording 400 years of history. Keenich walked past it every day. It survived the Spanish. It survived 1,200 years of jungle growth. And in 1960, a woman named Tatiana Proskuryakov cracked the code. She figured out how to read Maya dates on monuments, knowledge lost for 400 years. Suddenly, the stones started talking. We learned the names of kings, the dates of battles, the astronomical observations. Keenich's intellectual descendants knew their bark paper books were fragile, so they carved the most important knowledge into stone. That's what survived. Today, archaeologists can read Keenich's calculations carved in stone, verify them with modern instruments, 583.92 days for Venus, exact, 365.2422 days for the solar year, off by 17 seconds. He was right about everything. Here's what this tells us about the Maya during Europe's Middle Ages. They weren't waiting to be discovered. They weren't primitive people who needed European civilization. They were astronomers, mathematicians, engineers, writers, physicians, building cities, tracking planets, recording history, creating knowledge. While Europe preserved ancient texts, the Maya created new ones. While European calendars drifted out of sync, Maya calendars remained accurate. While European cities rarely exceeded 10,000 people, Tikal had 60,000 residents. The Maya weren't behind. They were ahead. In some ways, centuries ahead. And then the Spanish arrived with guns, disease, and religious certainty. The guns and disease killed millions. But Diego de Landa killed something else. The conversation across time that Keenich had devoted his life to building. So let's zoom out. What are we actually talking about here? Not just the Maya, not just medieval history, but something deeper about human knowledge and how fragile it is. Keenich believed he was building something permanent, stone monuments, mathematical patterns, observations that would hold true forever. He was half right. The mathematics survived, carved in stone, verified by modern science. But the context, the meaning, the full richness of Maya thought, lost. We have the calculations, but not the conversations, the data, but not the debates, the results, but not the reasoning. 4 books survived out of thousands, 4 windows into a civilization's mind. Here's the final question. What are we building today that will last 1,000 years? And maybe more importantly, what are we destroying right now that future generations will never forgive us for? Look, it's easy to condemn Diego de Landa from 500 years away. Monster, vandal, destroyer of knowledge, but every generation destroys something irreplaceable, sometimes through malice, sometimes through neglect, sometimes because we don't recognize the value of what we have. Languages dying without being recorded. Indigenous knowledge systems dismissed as superstition, climate change erasing archaeological sites, digital data stored in formats that won't be readable in 50 years. We're all Diego de Landa in some way, destroying knowledge because we're too busy, too certain, too focused on immediate concerns to recognize what we're losing. Keenich calculated eternity, but he couldn't protect his work from one man's ignorance. What can't we protect? The Maya during Europe's Middle Ages teach us something uncomfortable, that progress isn't linear, knowledge isn't permanent, and brilliance doesn't protect you from destruction. Keenich measured Venus with precision that wouldn't be matched for 700 years, and his reward was oblivion. His name lost, his books burned, his life's work reduced to fragments carved in stone. But here's what survived: the mathematics. The astronomical observations, the proof that during Europe's dark ages, other civilizations were measuring eternity. The Middle Ages weren't dark everywhere. They were only dark where we were taught to look. And even in darkness, someone was always watching the stars, seeing patterns, asking questions, building knowledge. That's the human story. Not Diego de Landa's destruction, but Keniche's curiosity. Not the burning, but the observation that preceded it. Not the ending, but the work. This is episode 5 of What the World Was Doing During Europe's Middle Ages. We've covered China's technological revolution, Islam's House of Wisdom, India's mathematical golden age, Mali's transformation of gold into knowledge, and now the Maya's calculation of eternity. 5 civilizations, 5 different ways of being brilliant during a period we're taught was universally dark. Next time, the Inca Empire. While European kingdoms struggled with basic administration, the Inca built the largest empire in the Americas, without written language, without wheels, without iron tools. They engineered roads through mountains that modern engineers still can't explain. They performed brain surgery with higher survival rates than Civil War doctors, and they did it all using a system of knotted strings. How? That's what we're covering next. Hit subscribe if you want to keep seeing what the medieval world really looked like beyond Europe, and drop a comment. If you could save one Maya codex from the burning, what would you want it to contain? Astronomy, medicine, history, poetry. See you in the next one.